Hi, good morning, folks. Welcome, All Souls, Unitarian Universalist Church here in Kansas City. Please come on in. Everybody's welcome here this morning. We'd like to thank you all for being here today. Is there any visitors visiting us? Well, welcome. How are you, folks? Would you mind telling us where you're from, if you so desire? Very nice. Welcome. Awesome. Oh, great. Welcome, folks. Hi. Well, welcome. Definitely. And please don't forget about the Sunday Plus lunch and visitor. Oh, hello. How are you? How you doing?
Been involved in Unitarian for a long time, particularly the Union Church in Washington, D.C. Moved here a number of years ago. For the last 10 years, been involved with Unity Temple down the street. I'm writing something, whether it's an essay or on comparisons between the two.
Very nice. Dennis, be careful what doors you open. Well, welcome. And for those of you that are new members, and the orientation today is going to be in the library, so please remember that. And for you visitors, you're welcome to enjoy Sunday Plus lunch on us today. We'd love to have you as our guests. Just inform the cashier that you are a visitor, and please meet some of our members and fans and spouses, partners, and have a nice lunch, definitely. Thank you all for coming today.
Photographs I found inside a drawer. I was taken by a photograph of you. There were one or two I know that you would have liked a little more, but they didn't show your spirit quite as true. You were turning round to see who was behind you, and I took your childish laughter by surprise. And at the moment that my camera happened to find you, there was just a trace of sorrow in your eyes. Now the things that I remember seem so distant and so small, though it hasn't really been that long a time. What I was seeing wasn't what was happening at all, although for a while our path did seem to climb. But when you see through love's illusions, there lies the danger. And your search for meaning leaves you feeling like a fool. So you go running off in search of a perfect stranger, while the loneliness seems to spring from your life like a fountain from a pool. Fountain of sorrow, fountain of life. You've known that hollow ground of your own steps in flight. You've had to hide sometimes, but now you're all right. And it's good to see your smiling face tonight. Now for you and me, it may not be that hard to reach our dreams, but that magic feeling never seems to last. And while the future's there for anyone to change, still you know it seems it would be easier sometimes to change the past. Just 1 or 2 years and a couple of changes behind you. In my lessons at love's pain and heartache school, where if you feel too free and you need something there to remind you, there's this loneliness springing up from your life like a fountain from a pool. Fountain of sorrow, fountain of light. You've known that hollow sound of your own steps in flight. You've had to hide sometimes, but now you're all right. And it's good to see your smiling face tonight. Fountain of sorrow, fountain of light. You've known that hollow sound of your own steps in flight. You've had to struggle, you've had to fight to keep understanding and compassion inside. You could be laughing at me, you got the right, but you go on smiling, so clear and so bright.
It comes to each of us sometime, sooner or later, this loneliness springing from your life like a fountain from a pool.
If you are ever going to become a fully human person, you have to learn how to be separate, how to do what seems right to you, even when others disagree, how to let even those you love most dearly be true to themselves, apart from you. It is hard work, this being a self. Sometimes it would be so much easier to just collapse our own uncertainties into what everyone else believes.
And yet, we gather here in this covenant community of memory and promise because we know that that is not our way. We seek lives of truth and integrity. We insist on the right to question and to know for ourselves. And we see the shining possibility of authentic community, of the connections that affirm and empower ourselves by coming together in common purpose and mutual care. We would remember that while the feeling of loneliness is inevitable at times, we are not alone. Indeed, we are held in a whole interdependent web woven into the life of all that is.
We gather today with water to share, representing many separate adventures, many different paths explored. Some of that water is about family. Some is about other precious communities that we are part of. Some is about our place in the world of nature. Some is about challenges confronted. Some is about peace achieved. Whatever its origin, when we bring these waters together, they flow into one, reminding us that we do not become less when we share, but greater.
For the fountain of sorrow and the fountain of light are one. And it is when we bring the waters of our lives into community that they become a flowing fountain, a source of beauty and joy and connection, lifted into the presence of our best ideals and our deepest dreams together. So it is that we gather here in this hour of attentive presence. So it is that we lift our hearts together in worship.
So it is that we kindle once again this chalice flame, symbol of our free faith, connecting us to Unitarian Universalist communities around the globe, and summoning us to lives of ever greater love, justice, and peace in the world.
You got it. Just give them time to turn it up.
Oh.
Try now.
Good morning. My name is Ruby Sholo. I light this chalice for the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you, Ruby. Now will you rise in body or spirit and join together in speaking once again the words of our community's covenant. Together we affirm, goodwill
is the spirit of this church,
and service is this law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. All right, have a seat for a moment, if you would. 10 years ago this week, something wonderful happened to this congregation. Anthony Edwards joined our staff as music director and conductor of our choir. Anthony is a consummate musician, a creative talent, a fun leader, and a gracious team member. He is active in musical, artistic, and theatrical communities here in Kansas City, as well as social justice causes. He also knows all the local singers and musicians and is often able to invite them to share their talents with us. Anthony brings out the best in our choir voices and our congregational singing. He makes our worship moving and inspiring, and he regularly makes all our worship leaders, including me, look far better than we would otherwise be. He coordinates and organizes around guest speakers with great hospitality and patience. In the time since I have had the privilege of working with Anthony, he has also taken on the task of worship arts coordinator. He prepares the creative slides for our video announcements and on-screen programs, and works with our technology volunteers to keep us moving in the direction of the 21st century with audio, video, recording, and internet capabilities. Anthony is a delightful person and a fabulous partner. I feel fortunate to have him on my team working to lead this congregation. We will devote a whole weekend this coming February to celebrating Anthony's ministry to us, but we wanted to lift up his 10-year anniversary this week. Stay for the Sunday Plus lunch and enjoy cake in honor of Anthony for dessert. Right now, let's rise as you are able and lift our voices together by celebrating the invitation that he so constantly offers us. Come sing.
Come sing a song with me.
so fun to catch people off guard. Many of the rituals and traditions that seem to frame the way things are now have always been and forever will be world without end, amen, first began as acts of defiance and liberation intended to break tradition and shake things up. This is certainly true of the water gathering ceremony that has been adopted by many Unitarian Universalist congregations as a way to begin the new program year after Labor Day. And I should know, I was there. I was there at the Unitarian Universalist Women and Religion Conference at East Lansing, Michigan in November of 1980. A new seminary graduate the previous June, part of a community of women seeking to define a different place for ourselves, both in ministry and in the liberal religious heritage. The very first water sharing ritual was designed as the opening worship for that convocation, a way to celebrate our connection as women from across the country and around the world. It was a paradoxical claiming of our individual landscape and geography and the different places that rooted and inspired us, at the same time as all that we had in common through our shared experience as women, and our hunger to define a faith in which that experience was not an afterthought. It was so moving to see that water brought by women from so many different places, from rivers, from oceans, from rainwater, from nearby streams and a distant mountain lake, all flow together instantly. It suggested a form of power in community that the peevishly entitled and intellectually quarrelsome, essentially patriarchal and individualistic Unitarian Universalism of the past, of my growing up, did not know about. It showed us a new way of understanding who we were together. And many of us were quickly aware that we wanted to share this experience more widely and take it back to our congregations, our colleagues, and our communities. The women who brought water to that first ritual were not showing off their exotic locations. And bragging about how cool your water is has never been part of this practice. I always find it moving and striking to know how many distances our water is brought from, and the many strands from which our community is woven. But the nearest and most common, even the humblest, are often the strongest threads that sustain all the rest. And yet this is what privilege does to us sometimes. It puts up barriers, making us suppose that we are in some sort of contest for status, or that somebody else thinks they are better than me. If we open our eyes, though, the water is teaching us the exact opposite of this, that what unites and connects us is so much more important than the imagined differences that dissolve when we truly come together. I hope that the water you bring today reminds you of all the ways in which you are lucky. This is not about showing off, it's about being grateful. And when we are grateful for the simple things that make our lives good, things as simple as water, we remember that we all need to work together to make sure that all children everywhere can have these same simple things, so so that they can be safe and happy. And all the grown-ups, too. So now I invite you to bring your water forward to add to the fountain. Watch the scrolling text on the screen to see the many different lakes, rivers, oceans, gardens, swimming pools, and kitchen sinks that have given meaning to our days. As we make each our own contribution, may we remember that all of us, even the most fortunate, need each other and long for love and community. And all of us, even when we are most troubled, have gifts to offer and treasures to share. Now, a couple of details. First, if you prefer not to appear on camera for the live stream and video recording, wait until the words of the song come up on the screen. At that time, the camera will no longer be live on the fountain. Second, this jar over here contains magic water, which comes from whatever place you hold in your mind as you add it to the fountain. Feel free to share from this source, even if you only imagined bringing water from your special place. Now, as we take turns coming forward, the choir will lead us in singing together.
as these waters, drawn from many sources, come together into a seamless whole, so let us covenant together for a new year with this, our religious community, in which the living waters of the Spirit are gathered and poured for us. Since the dawn of human consciousness, water has been recognized as a symbol of fertility and renewal, of abundance and cleansing, of beauty and power, and the sacred source of life itself. The absence of water can be a desperate thing, or as we have seen again in the devastation of this hurricane season, water can be shattering and overpowering when it comes as storms or floods. More often, our images of water are positive: rain in a thirsty land, the serenity of a deep river, the joyful exaltation of a fountain. These images speak to the condition of our human spirits, showing the connection between what is within us and what is in the world around us. We are all a part of this world, participants in the human community, and partners in the great adventure of life. That is the message of the water that we share today, and that is the message of hope that we take with us, even into the world's tragedy, violence, and broken dreams. Even there, in the midst of confusion and indifference, greed and despair, the small acts that each of us may do are important. Because of our kindness, the lives of others can be made a little more kind. We need not wait for grand opportunities to change the world. Every gracious gesture that we make, every patience that we show, every happiness that is in our power to give, changes what the world is like a little bit, like tiny drops of rain renewing a parched landscape.
Here in this community, may we find the abundant sources of happiness in the small accomplishments and pleasures of everyday living, in the kindnesses that we can show to others, in the connections that we build, in the simple realities that we love. Happiness is not a life of no challenges or no suffering. Rather, happiness lies in knowing that together we have faced into the winds of change, and with each other's help have embraced the discomfort that, when faithfully completed, results in the world becoming a better place. For that is the essence of community, and it is always when shared in community that happiness is most real. In that affirmation, let us rise once again and sing.
The stream sings it to the river sings it to the sea sings it to the boat that carries you and me. sailing still, with a song to help us pull together, if we only will.
The Fountain. The poet Denise Levertov invites us to have confidence in the source of meaning and abundance in these words. Don't say there is no water to solace the dryness at our hearts. I have seen the fountain springing out of the rock wall, and you drinking there. And I too, before your eyes, found footholds and climbed to drink the cool water. The woman of that place, shading her eyes, frowned as she watched, but not because she grudged the water, only because she was waiting to see that we drank our fill and were refreshed. Don't say there is no water. The fountain is there among its scalloped, green and gray stones. It is still there and always there, with its quiet song and strange power to spring in us up and out through the rock.
Good morning. How many of you have watched the devastating effects of Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma on the news? Can you imagine what it would be like to have your home filled with several feet of water and to see your furniture and your belongings floating in that water? Or to be told that your nice car has just floated away in a river of water that was your street? Can you imagine what it would be like to come home after the hurricane and see that your house has been leveled with nothing but rubble left? It is heart-wrenching to see the devastating effects of these hurricanes. And I know our first response is to say, what can I do? How can I help? Today, we can help with our offerings. The Unitarian Universalist Association and the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee have created the Hurricane Harvey and the Hurricane Irma Recovery Funds, and our offering today will go to those funds. Half of the money from those funds will go to at-risk populations supported by the Unitarian Universalist Services Committee, and the other half will go to UU congregations and members of those congregations most impacted by the hurricanes. This is our opportunity to be proactive, to reach out and to help those so in need of our help. Please put All Souls on your check and special offering on the memo line. Our offering will now be received. And I want to thank you for what I know is your incredible generosity.
Clear, lined with trees of healing leaves, trout and salmon there. All along the shoreline, weeping willows blow, where prayers are heard and songs have words, my spirit longs to go. Upon my feet, I could never swim if it's only ankle deep. Cleanse me in that current, bathe me in that stream, wash me in that water till I'm pure and clean. Eastward in its course, swallows sweep and salmon leap, steady to its source. All along the shoreline, deer and beaver play, and gentle geese among the reeds await the close of day. Thirst is my companion, drought is my disease. I could never swim, the stream can barely touch my knees. Cleanse me in that current, bathe me in that stream, wash me in that water till I'm pure and clean. Though the river's deep, with frothy swells and swirls, every stone is like a throne set with gems and pearls. Tiny snow-white lilies scent the mild air, and apple trees and strawberries forever bloom and bear. Sorrow on my shoulder, blindness in my eye. I could never swim if it's only waist high. Wade a little deeper, farther from the shore. Let the current lift and lead me more and more. Wade a little deeper, farther from the shore. Let the current lift and lead me more and more.
Please join me in the words of dedication for the offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal growth, and to create a just and compassionate society.
You guys, it's so good to be back. Wade a little deeper, farther from the shore. Let the current lift and lead me more and more. It's not entirely easy to talk about the wonders of water just now, with 2 communities still waiting to dry out and pick up the pieces of 2 devastating hurricane systems and floods not even a couple of weeks ago. In truth, any one of the elements can be destructive when out of its natural path and order. When air becomes 100-mile-an-hour winds or choked with toxic fumes. When the earth cracks with the planet's movements or loosens into mudslides. When fire escapes from the comforting hearth and consumes whole forests and homes. All these are terrifying to human beings, for their forces are so much larger and more implacable than anything we know how to control. It is difficult to speak of liberty, democracy, reason, and human dignity, too, in the face of the determined assaults that such ideals are under these days. They, too, are perverted from their natural order when liberty becomes the license to do whatever power allows, when democracy becomes the tyranny of self-interest, when reason is twisted to serve public deceit and the suffering of the oppressed, and human dignity is cited as a defense for the basest impulses of our nature. These forces also can be overwhelming. The steadfastness that it takes to resist them is not easily achieved. And yet, just as those who would help the stranded folks in a flood must move into the waters, cautious but determined, so must we be willing to wade into the tides of political and cultural change. Ironically, one of the things that is most immediately needed for survival after a flood is clean water. Just so, in a world inundated with fake news, corporate spin, and cynical political lies, one of the most urgent needs is for a clear recommitment to logic, evidence, and truth. Water is a symbol of so many things because it is so essential for life. We need it, we use it, but we do not finally control it. It gives us beauty, sustenance, freshness, inspiration, renewal, but it is not ours. It flows always to the lowest level, humbly accommodates any vessel, falls upon the just and the unjust alike, the lowly and the powerful without judgment. Yet when the ancient prophet needed to express the force of holy justice, he called for it to roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Water knows the secret that human consciousness struggles to learn. For no matter how different or far divided the sources from which it comes, when waters are brought together, they unite instantly to form a seamless whole. So might humanity be if we would learn the love that casts out fear and the healing of compassionate community. Mingle together in one flowing fountain, May these waters bespeak our shared commitment, our common journey, our dependence on one another and the earth which is our home. May this be a celebration of who we are together, and may it continue in ordinary and extraordinary ways to sustain us as we sustain one another in these difficult times, as well as the days that are to come and the world that is to be. As the musician Peter Yarrow once observed, all waters, like all people, are ultimately one.
Traveled the banks of the river of Jordan to find where it flows to the sea. I looked in the eyes of the cold and the hungry, and I saw I was looking at me. And I wanted to know if life had a purpose and what it all means in the end. In the silence, I listened to the voices inside me, and they told me again and again, there is only one river, there is only one sea, and it flows through you, and it flows through me. There is only one people, we are one and the same. We are all one spirit. We are all one name. We are the Father, Mother, Daughter, and Son. From the dawn of creation, we are one. We are one. We are one. I heard many stories of sorrow and suffering. I saw many borders and walls. But all around me ring songs about freedom wherever humanity calls. Let justice roll down like a river of power and righteousness flow like the streams. Let the truth fall like rain in the hearts of the people, the oldest and best of our dreams. There is only one river, there is only one sea, and it flows through you, and it flows through me. There is only one people, we are one and the same. We are all one spirit, we are all one name. We are the Father, Mother, Daughter, and Son. From the dawn of creation, we are one. We are one. We are one. Every blade of grass on the mountain, every drop in the sea, every cry of a newborn baby, every prayer to be free, every hope at the end of a rainbow, every song ever sung is a part of the family of human beings, and that means everyone. There is only one river, there is only one sea, and it flows through you, and it flows through me. There is only one people, we are one and the same. We are all one spirit, we are all one name. We are the Father, Mother, Daughter, and Son. From the dawn of creation, one. We are one. We are one. We are one. We are one.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fires of commitment. For all these we carry in our hearts until we are together again. In the dark days leading up to the Second World War, the poet W.H. Auden summoned an enduring confidence in the human spirit with these words: "In the nightmare of the dark, all the newest bigots bark, and the living nations wait, each sequestered in its hate. Intellectual disgrace stares from every human face, and the seas of pity lie locked and frozen in each eye. Follow, spirit, follow right to the bottom of the night. With your unconstraining voice, still persuade us to rejoice. In the deserts of the heart, let the healing fountains start. In the prison of our days, teach the skeptics how to praise." So be it.